Hi folks, Robert O'Brien from O'Brien Guitars and the Lutherie Academy. Today I'm going to repair a ding in the back of a guitar and then also do a finish touch-up using the GluBoost products. Let's go. So here's a guitar that came into the shop. Like most cases, when you get a guitar into the shop that has a ding, you have two issues. First of all, you have to address the ding or the crack, and then you also have to address the finish repair. So let's start with the ding. So here's the few dings. Looks like somebody's had a belt buckle or a chisel or something that's gotten into it. That one actually goes pretty deep. The rest of them are just into the wood a little bit. So we're going to use the GluBoost product, fill and finish, to first of all fix those and level them, and then we'll address the finish repair. I'm going to start by thoroughly cleaning the area with naphtha. I want to make sure that there's no polish or anything down inside there that's going to keep the GluBoost fill and finish from adhering. So let's make sure we get all of that cleaned up. I'm then going to come in with the fill and finish blue label and level those dings. And then hit it with some of the GluBoost Glue Dry Accelerator. As long as I'm at it here, I've found a few other areas that have some low spots. So I might as well go ahead and hit those while we're at it. There's even a big chip of the finish right here that has gone missing, so let's go ahead and repair that. So if I were not going to refinish the entire back, I only had a ding or two, I did come in with a razor blade and scrape these areas of GluBoost level, get out my sandpaper and make it completely level, and then buff it back up to a high gloss. Since I did so many spot repairs here for the dings, I'm just going to sand the entire back and refinish the entire back with the Lac R Shot from GluBoost. So I've got a hard block with some 320 grit paper, and I'm just going to come in and level all these little spot repairs I did with the GluBoost, and then scuff sand the entire back. And as you can see, this back is in pretty bad shape. I've spent some quality time with the sandpaper, and now I'm going to wipe everything down with naphtha. And that looks pretty good. I think we are now ready for the finish. Everything's nice and leveled. You got all of those dings fixed, all of the cracks. So for touching up the back, I'm going to use the GluBoost Lacquer Shot. It's a gun-like lacquer spray in a can. Has an ultra-thin flash coat. And I'm just going to follow the instructions as it says here on the back. I can apply it to sanded bare wood, pore-filled wood over sanding sealer, stains, or over existing finishes for spot repairs and to blend in touch-ups. We already have a finish on here. It's already been pore-filled. It's already got lacquer on here, and I did not sand through it. So we'll just spray it right over the existing lacquer. The nozzle tip can be adjusted to the pattern of your choice. I can go vertical or horizontal. The surface has to be clean, dry, and free of dust, grease, and wax. We've wiped it down with naphtha, for good to go there. We're going to allow the finish to dry to touch between coats. And if level sanding between coats, let finish cure for 24 hours between applications. And we're going to let the finish cure fully prior to final sanding and buffing. All right, let's go do some spraying. So yesterday I sprayed 4 coats, and as you can see, it comes out really nice right out of the can. If this were a spot repair, then probably that is sufficient. However, since I decided to go ahead and do the whole back, I'm going to level and spray a few more coats today. I'm going to start with some 320 grit, level it, and then just spray a few more coats. If you're doing only a spot repair, probably just a few light coats is all it's going to take. And then you can level and buff it if you want to. But it actually goes down pretty nice just right out of the can. And with very light sanding like that, it's not even gumming up the paper. And I just finished spraying it about 6 o'clock last night. So as you can tell, it flashes off fairly quickly. So I spent a few minutes with the 320 grit sandpaper, got it completely level. And if I were going to rub it out to a satin, then that's probably good enough. Or like I said, a small spot repair, you're probably good enough to buff it to a gloss. However, I want a little bit more build on this since I had quite a few imperfections. So I'm going to go just hit a few more coats today. So yesterday, after leveling with some 320 grit sandpaper, I sprayed 3 more coats of the Lacquer Shot. And as you can see, this stuff goes down really nice, just right out of the can. And if this were a spot repair in the area here that I was working on, then I would probably just lightly scuff it with some 1000 grit and then polish it up by hand, which I think I'll go ahead and show you how to do. But since I went ahead and did the entire back, eventually I'm going to wind up leveling and then buffing on my buffing wheel the entire back. But you could do it all by hand, which I'll demonstrate now. So the traditional way of doing this is wet sanding. So I just put a little water on the surface. I'm coming in with some 1000 grit paper. I'm using a little eraser, kind of as a backer pad. And then I'm just going to work this little area here. This is where that defect was that we fixed. And even though I sprayed this stuff yesterday afternoon, and it's about 8:30 in the morning, this stuff is not gumming up my paper at all. All right, I've got that little defect area completely leveled, and I'm just going to polish that up by hand. What I'm using now is some Novus number 2. This is the fine scratch remover, and a cotton ball. And just come in and polish this area back to a high gloss. And that turned out very, very nice in that little spot repair area. So there's the area right there that was in question. Now, if this were a spot repair, I would be done. I could just level that area with the GluBoost products, then come in and hit it with the Lacquer Shot, blend it into the rest of it, and just lightly sand it with some 1000 grit and polish it back up. It would be out the door in less than 48 hours. Great, great product. This Lacquer Shot flashes off very quickly. And it's such a thin coat, heck, you almost don't even have to buff it. So here's the area we repaired, and back to a high gloss. The owner's going to be very happy with this. Now I'm going to go ahead and level the rest of it and buff it up to a gloss. Heck, that went so quick, I might as well just go ahead and do it by hand. Since this stuff sprays so nicely, it really doesn't take much sanding to level it. It levels out really nicely. And like I said, this has been less than 24 hours since I did the spraying. Well, that didn't take me much leveling at all. And this thing is perfectly level. Now, just as an experiment, I think I will go ahead and do the upper half by hand, and I'll do the lower half on the buffing wheel and see how it turns out. So here I am after leveling. I'm going to go ahead and buff this part by hand. Just going to use the Novus and some cotton balls. So here's the upper bout. This is what I did by hand. Still see a few small scratches in there that I haven't gotten out yet, but a little bit more buffing would get that out. Now the lower bout, I'm going to go use the buffing wheel. See how this stuff buffs on a buffing wheel. So after a few minutes on the buffing wheel, this is what I've got. I can't notice a difference in the lower bout and the upper bout. The upper bout I did by hand, lower bout I did on the buffing wheel. And I think it turned out fantastic. And I did this whole repair in about 48 hours. Completely refinished the pack. If I were doing just a spot repair, possibly 24 hours is all it would take. Here was our original blemish right there. Had some pretty big dings there. And those are gone. Everything's back to a high gloss. Well, folks, you just saw me completely refinish the back of a guitar in 48 hours. I used a lacquer shot, spray gun in the can. It lays down really, really thin flash coats, therefore it flashes off very quickly and you can get right back to putting more coats on. So the idea is multiple thin layers will give you a quicker build than a few thick layers. Now, if I were only doing a spot repair, like that little blemish I showed you in the beginning of the video, I could probably get this thing out the door in about 24 hours. If you're doing a complete finish, and you can use this product for bare wood all the way to complete finish, I would give it more cure time if you're doing that. I was probably rushing it to do it 48 hours on the back of the guitar. I noticed if I really laid into the sandpaper a little bit, it would start to gum up. So just give it another few days and you'll be fine. So anyway, great product. Thank you for the folks from GluBoost for the Lacquer Shot gun-like lacquer spray in a can, ultra thin finish coat. And happy finishing, folks.